Hello everyone, it's Christina from Our Wood Home. Welcome back to my channel. I'm in my kitchen and I've got some beautiful fresh pineapples. They were on a really good sale at the grocery store, so I bought a lot, an embarrassing amount maybe. I bought 10 pineapple. Yes, that's a lot of pineapple. There's no way we can eat that much pineapple before it goes bad, since there's only 2 of us in our house. So what I decided to do is just start canning as much as I possibly could. And I thought maybe I should be filming this because this might be something you would like to see as well. So to do this, you're just going to need some pineapple, canning jars, and either a steam canner or a water bath canner. If you've been watching my canning videos here on my channel, you know I prefer a steam canner because it uses way less water. And all recipes that are water bath canned are safe to use in a steam canner. This is a really easy way to cut pineapple. First, just cut the top off, and I like to cut the bottom off right away as well. I just forgot to do that for this clip. And then use a big sharp knife and just go down the sides of the pineapple, cutting off that flesh. My knife is very dull here. It definitely needs to be sharpened. You want to make sure you're using a nice sharp knife, not a serrated blade, just a regular blade works best. Make sure you save these skins because you can use them to make pineapple tea, which I will have a video for at the end of this one, so you can check that out if you'd like. Now we're going to start cutting off the actual fruit part. You can see the core in the middle. We don't want the core in these canned pineapples. I forgot to cut the bottom off, so I'm just going to do that. Anyways, let's go ahead and cut around the core. If there's any pieces that look a little bit funky or still have some of the flesh on it, you can just discard those as well. I choose to wear gloves when I'm doing the pineapple because it is pretty sticky and slimy and I just don't like having dirty hands, but you don't have to wear gloves, it's just a preference. We're going to make sure that we're cutting our pineapple into fairly even chunks, just so it's consistent in the jar. You could do, I think they call it tidbits, like the really tiny diced pineapple pieces if you want. I'm just doing chunks because we'll probably eat these just as they are, or I might bake with them. And if I bake with them, I can always cut them into smaller pieces. You don't need to pack these very tightly in the jar. You want a little bit of space, and I always fill mine just to the top of the jar where it starts to get smaller for the neck of the jar, if that makes sense. I'm going to link the recipe that I used in the description of this video, so you can check out all of the details on that website if you want. Now that I've got the pineapple all cut up and put in jars, I'm going to prepare the syrup. So I'm putting 6 cups of water to boil, and then 3 cups of white sugar, and I'm going to put that in to dissolve to make the syrup. I'll let that boil and then move on to the next step. While the syrup is on the stove, I'm going to set up my steam canner. If you are using a steam canner, just prepare it per the instructions. If you're using a water bath canner, prepare it as per the instructions for that. But for my canner, I just set it on the stove, fill it with, I forget how many cups of water, but I fill it so that the tray is covered, and I bring that to a boil. Then I'm going to turn it down to more of a gentle boil, put my jars in, put the lid on, and then follow the instructions for canning. Oh, there we go. I think you can see me now. Now that my syrup has been heated up, all the sugar is dissolved, I'm going to start filling my jars. And I'm just going to fill them to up to here. Let's get to that. I definitely did too much syrup with that first jar, so I'm just going to take a little bit out. Don't want it to overflow. All right, that's better. I realize you can't really see me from that angle, but I think you kind of can get a good idea of what this looks like. I'm using a wide mouth funnel to fill the jars, and I'm pouring with a measuring cup. Sometimes I do a ladle, but I find that the measuring cup is just easier because it's got the little spout on it. I'm not putting the lids on right away because I want to go over each jar mouth and just wipe it off with a damp towel to make sure there's no syrup on it, because that could affect how well it seals. I have a little more syrup than I need, but I'm okay with that because when I make pineapple tea, I'll just dump the syrup into the pot with the pineapple leaves. All right, I've got a damp towel. I'm gonna wipe all these off. I have not started my steam canner on the stove yet because it's pretty loud and I wanted you to be able to hear me. But I'm going to get that going now and put the lids on these jars. I always say to use hot lids for your jars, but this recipe comes from the Bernardin website and also one of their cookbooks. And they specifically say not to boil their lids before using them. It's just not necessary. And since I'm using Bernardin lids, I did not boil them this time around. I will link the recipe in the description of this video so you can check that out if you want the exact recipe as it's written, but you might notice I did things a little bit differently. was one lid short. I'm just going to let these sit here for a minute or two while the canner heats up. Now that the lid is on my steam canner, I'm going to wait until this needle gets to the end of this top blue area. That's when I can start my timer. It's based on altitude, so don't just follow what I'm saying with my specific canner and my specific altitude. Check your canner's instruction manual for processing instructions. But the important thing is, once I get into this zone, I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes and let the canner do its thing. These jars are going to sit here undisturbed for 24 hours. Undisturbed meaning I'm not going to pick them up, I'm not going to touch them, I'm not going to take the lids off. They're just going to sit here away from any draft, so away from the doors or windows, and they're just going to rest. If it looks like there's bubbles inside, that's totally normal because the liquid has been very, very hot and boiling, and now it's, you know, cooling down a bit, so we're going to see some bubbles, and that's okay. There might also be water on top of the lids. That's also fine. Just leave it alone. It will trickle down as it cools. After 24 hours, I'm going to take the collars off, and if any of the lids have not popped down flat, I'm going to put those in the fridge and use them up as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found it interesting. Have you ever canned pineapple before? And if not, is this something that you might try? As you can see, it's pretty straightforward, and if you can get a good deal on pineapple and can that up yourself at home, you'll have pineapple anytime you want it. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, I hope that you consider subscribing. Have a great rest of your day.